Okay, we've just turned on the recording. So once again, welcome everybody. This is the first meeting of the ACS Modern Language and Technology webinar series. I'm Amanda Haygood. I'm the Director of Blended Learning Programs for the Associated Colleges of the South, and I'm really, really glad to see you here today. Today we are going to be talking with Anna Lohaus, who's joining us from the Department of Modern Languages at Rollins College. She's going to tell us a little bit about how she's been using ePortfolio technology to engage students in their language learning and also to streamline the process of assessment. Before we get started, I want to tell you just a few things about how to use this interface, although honestly it seems like most of you have grasped it right away. Many people are typing their names and affiliations down in the chat box, which is located in the lower half of the screen, and that's great. Keep doing that if you haven't already, and then we'll all know who's in the room. I'm going to bring up a little visual, though, to help you with a few of the other things. One moment. Okay, here it comes. So while that is uploading, I'll just tell you a few things about this interface. This is Adobe Connect. Normally it's a really good way to video conference. However, it does drastically improve when we try to cut down on our bandwidth and also try to cut back on audio feedback. And so for that reason, we have asked everybody who hasn't already done so to go ahead and mute your microphone. Which is really easy to do if you haven't already. It's a little green button in the top of the screen that looks like an old-fashioned microphone. Just click the drag-down menu and you'll have the option to mute. Same thing for cameras, although it looks like nobody's enabled their cameras out there. So thanks so much for doing that. Sorry it cuts back on our interactivity a little bit, but we do still have the chat function, and we think that'll be a good way to pose questions and comments, which we'll have lots of time for at the end of the presentation. Really eager to hear what you think about all this and what's going on with language instruction and technology in your school. So I wanted to tell you again just a little bit about who our participants are today and the genesis of this group. As I mentioned before, I'm the new director for Blended Learning Programs, and in that role I'm going to be doing some things that the ACS has always done and hopefully some new things as well. I am going to be doing, again, what I hope to say the ACS has always done best, which is to create new opportunities for faculty development, student learning, and innovative teaching. But also on an individual basis, I'm going to be working with those who are in our Blended Learning Grants program, which, if you have not heard of it before, I encourage you to look here in this little handout that I've made. Please go look it up. And please feel free to ask me questions about it too. So with those people, I'll be helping with generating ideas for the grant and also helping with the management of the grants. But in a broader sense, and that's really what I want to talk about today, I'm here to help stimulate interest and discussion around the topic of teaching with technology. And I'm doing that in a couple of different ways, by showcasing the great work that's already being done with teaching and technology in our consortium, talking over ideas for new workshops that we might need, other programming that we might need, helping good projects that are already going strong to find partners so they can expand across the consortium, and thinking, of course, about ideas for future fundraising and more grants that we might apply for. So really, it's a two-way street, and I can do my job much better if I maintain good communication with you, so please don't hesitate to get in touch with me. My email address is in the top line there. And really, all of that is how today's conversation got started. When I first met Nancy and Anna, and I was really struck, actually, in an early conversation I had with them. Of course, I work with folks who are doing teaching and technology in many different disciplines, but as Anna pointed out, language instructors really have always been kind of pioneers in teaching with technology, whether it's the use of technology in language labs or whether it's using media or video conferencing to connect your students to other cultures. So it just sort of struck us that particularly with all of the new tools that there are for teaching out there, and with all the great projects that are already going on in the ACS, we needed to start a series of conversations where we could all sort of reach out and see what we're doing and share ideas. And of course, in a larger sense too, think through the implications of new technology for our practice and for our pedagogy. So again, that's the conversation we wanted to start, and we're really hoping that you're going to help us continue it. And I'll quit jabbering at you in just a second, but I want to show you first some ways that you can keep involved in this conversation. First of all, if you'll look on this handout that I've given you, as I said before, we are going to make a recording of this webinar and it will be available to you. So if you found it useful, I hope you'll watch it again and share it with colleagues and other folks in your department and really keep the conversation going at your institution. I would also invite you to join our listserv, the ACS Languages listserv, which is how we keep in touch about this webinar series. If that is of interest to you and you're not already a part of it, please feel free to contact me at heygood@colleges.org and I'll get you added in. Also, I'm really pleased to tell you that in addition to this webinar series, really thanks to Anna's good work at Rollins, we're also going to be able to host you, if you would like, in a technology sandbox where it will be sort of like a course site that you can join, and Anna will tell you more about how to join it, where you'll be able to look at things like lesson plans, sample assignments, and different ways of experimenting with each of the new technologies that we talk about. So I encourage you to be a part of that. It'll be open throughout the year, and you will have all the time that you need to really kind of experiment with these things and get comfortable and use some of the discussion features too, so you can talk with others about what your experience has been like. I also wanted to include this sample e-portfolio, which will come into our conversation later today. I wanted to make sure you saw that link. Anna's going to show us some samples of e-portfolios that she and her students have put together. Finally, I also wanted to advertise our next webinar, which is going to be occurring next month, November 19th at 3:30 p.m. Central, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, where we're going to be talking with Felix Cronenberg from Rollins College about his work with digital storytelling. So once again, welcome to our series, and let me tell you just a bit more about our presenter today, Anna Lohaus. So Anna holds degrees in French literature and political science from the University of Florida, as well as another in German literature, also from the University of Florida. Before she taught at Rollins, she taught for 1 year at the University of Pittsburgh, and now that she's at Rollins, she's in a really interesting position. She's co-appointed in the Department of Modern Languages and also the Instructional Technology Department. So she has a very unique angle on this topic and on these questions that we're going to be discussing today. And I can just tell you, too, from my brief visit to Rollins, that Anna is very important to her campus. I think she actually knows everybody at Rollins. So she's doing a wonderful job of reaching out and kind of being in two different worlds, bringing the IT world and the faculty world together. So I'm really eager to hear what she has to say, and for that reason, I'm going to pass the conversation on over to her.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Hello?
We're getting yes.
Yes. Okay, excellent. And I'm gonna share just a little bit of background. I wanted to focus today on the front-facing side of this, so to show you what all students can do to then entice you to want to put just a teeny little bit of work into it to try it with your students. So the website that I will, or the product that I will talk to you about today is an e-portfolio system, and it's called Foliotek. And I don't really care if you use Foliotek or anything else, but I think e-portfolios is a really good system to implement within the modern languages classroom. And I guess we're using this one, so I'll show you this one. I just don't want to sound like a sales rep for them. But it's a pretty good e-portfolio system, and I'll show you in a minute why our faculty chose it. There was a committee put together, and they put some thought into it of why and what system they might want to use. So here's Foliotek. And Foliotek is like the panacea for all of this accreditation stuff, which schools have to do, and it's good for teaching and in the classroom. So it's it strikes a nice balance between the two. It compiles statistics for you. It archives students' works. It archives projects, which in modern languages we're in that unique place where we want to show, right, students learn a language, they're excelling in the first semester and the second semester, we need to somehow show that this continues. And it's really hard to show from learner to learner. So this could help us archive some of these projects and how they progress, how each student progresses without us acquiring loads and loads of papers and CDs and recordings, and right, it's one place to store them easily. It supports, and this is exciting for us language learners, right, teachers, it supports video files, it supports audio files, it supports images, text files, Word documents, PowerPoints, Prezis, and I'll show you all that in just a second of how we implemented it. And it's just an example. And the things you will see are actual students' portfolios that I've pulled out. So you will see some typos, and you'll see some incorrect German, but they're the student files, and you'll see what they've put together. It's very easy to use on the student side, and they like it. It is integrated into Blackboard for us. I don't know what learning module system you are using, if you're using Canvas or Moodle, but they integrate with most. So meaning, right, for your students, they don't have to go to yet another website. They don't have to figure out yet one more login. They simply log into whatever system you use at your campus, and they click on a button, and then depending on how your institution has it set up to pay, they register once, or they already are granted the license by the institution. It would be really cool if every class could use this. Your students would buy one license. Currently we're set up where our students pay $35 for a year, and they can have as many portfolios as they want. So it's cool for us in the modern languages to kind of track some stuff, right? That's for us. But the students show off their projects and their pages, and they look like web pages in the end, to their friends, to their parents. They can send it wherever they want. And seniors can kind of capture what they do and send that off to employers. So it's pretty cool, and show off what they can do in languages and in other courses too. All right, and then the most important thing, this is actually easy to use. We don't want some techie application that is impossible to work through, right? And very easy to use. Students love, love, love it. And then also maybe if we have some people out there teaching Chinese or Vietnamese or Arabic, it supports any character that you put in there. So you can type whatever you want. It doesn't have a drop-down menu with special characters, but if you type it in Word and you copy it over, it looks still the same. It does not turn into digital gobbledygook because you can't read it. So it supports any character, so any language could use it. And this is pretty much what it looks like for us. This is a screenshot from the inside of Blackboard, our learning module, management module, so that you can kind of see what it is. The opening page where students log into, there's a button on the left where, right, you see it encircled. That's where Foliotek is. That's where they click, and that's all they have to remember to get to where they need to go. And I just wanted to briefly point out, because institutions have to pay for this, ideally, right? We don't want the students to pay for it. It's kind of we're an in-between campus at the moment. The decision is with the administration whether or not they want to pay for it and fund it. So we're waiting. But there's two structures for the portfolio. The front-facing part that I will show you mainly today, students love it. It's good for projects. It's good for portfolios, be it at the end of a course, for a course of study, for a capstone course, or throughout the semester and the study for each course. But there's the institutional side of it. If you want to convince your institution to invest in this, this is the cool side. We're going to start with that side. So there's the assessment part of this. This is a place that will collect portfolio stuff, will collect information, will do statistics, right? Amazing. You don't have to spend time with it anymore. So if you log into this, right, if I click on that button within our learning module, learning management system, this opens up. And I'm going to show you the example of the English department here on campus. And then later I'll show you all the stuff that we did. But just so you get some inkling of what your institution might really get excited over. This is what administration gets excited over. So you can enter a rubric, and English had wanted to evaluate their beginning English sequence that every student has to take. And so they had a couple of key features that needed to be completed by each student, that they wanted to have completed by each student, right? So they set up these couple of rubrics, and there was a meet, does not meet. Can they do this? Can they not do this? At the end of the sequence, right? So they were evaluating the program, not individual students. It was a blind review done within this. So students uploaded their papers, and the faculty reviewed it. Multiple people reviewed it, and then they drew their results at the end of it. This was the rubric for English, so you can see it was rather broad. And then this is what they get at the end of it. They've graded all of them, and they will see 37 out of 65 students meet whatever they wanted to do, and then do not meet. And then the program can do all kinds of statistic hoops. They can show you each benchmark, how much was met, how much was not met, and they can break it down to the student, to the benchmark per student, to the group, however you want it, whatever you need to show and whatever you need to prove and track. It does it for you. No more Excel, no more keeping papers, right? This is pretty exciting. It can cut down on the time that it takes you to show that you're teaching, and you can have more time for actually teaching again. So very exciting. It runs reports for you. And then I wanted to show you what we're actually here for, right? Our example, the modern languages. And we have not yet implemented something that would go across all the languages or across one discipline, but Spanish is working on it to put together a portfolio for their capstone course, which currently still functions, and I think a lot of departments do this. They want their students at the end of 4 years to show what they have learned, so they tell them to keep their work, to please save their essays, and to please save their recordings, and students do or don't. Students transfer in, students have computer issues, and they lose all kinds of information. And so when they get to the capstone, it is hard to put this together accurately. If we were to use something like Foliotek throughout their 4 years and routinely have them submit certain files to Foliotek, they would be saved in Foliotek. Foliotek does not crash. Foliotek does not get eaten by dogs. Foliotek is there. You can run statistics as it goes, and students after 4 years have all their documents that you told them to put there, right there, to then build their final portfolio and actually see how far they've progressed, which I think is very important for the language learner. I've noticed that this semester. They get amazed by how much better they get seeing their process. You as a teacher would get notified via email, and I don't know if you see it on the left-hand side, that you have new evaluations. You can set it up so that these are almost additional assignments. Students have to submit on November 12th their chapter test 5 essay to Foliotek. You can grade it within here. You can grade it somewhere else. They can submit it twice, right? It is a couple of clicks, and it's submitted here. It is not hard for the students. It's very easy to navigate. Well, I wanted to show you some of the actual examples of ePortfolio. And I know if you want to implement something into your classroom, right, you want to play with it. You want to kind of try it out. It's cool to see some examples, but then what does this mean for me? So I put together 2 pages for you. I put a sample portfolio together where on the left-hand side under my picture you see home. That's this page right here, just a brief introduction of what this is. And then under there you see written assignments and oral assignments. I have linked to one student within the written assignments, and also given you a little bit of introduction, and then also within the oral assignments I have linked to something so that you can actually see the live page. And again, those are actual students' portfolio pages, so you'll see some errors, and one video is posted upside down, but you'll see kind of what it feels like and what it looks like. So I'm going to go over to this and just show you that briefly. And I have the web page pulled up, and I'll give you this link. You can go to this, you can show this to your institution if you want to your fellow language teachers. I think they'll enjoy it. So within this, if we click on writing assignments, written assignments, right, I've given you a little bit of background. So this year was an election year in Germany, and we decided to use it. The book talks about political parties anyways. Why not use the political parties of today? So we were reading newspapers with a website that helps you translate newspapers, makes it possible for a 4th semester German course to read some of those newspapers. And they got material for me, and they were put into groups, and they all were assigned parties, the main parties. And they were doing research on some of the materials that I handed them of the different parties and their different positions. And they found different posters of the different parties, right? And we would talk about what is our party. They would present their party. They said where it came from. Does a party like that exist in the U.S.? Yada, yada, yada. A traditional test for this class would have normally been some kind of an essay, right? There's a grammar structure that needs to be done in the 4th semester in each chapter, and then a lot of writing. Most students don't necessarily enjoy the process of writing, right? They write it once, they write it twice, they have to go to the tutor, and that's simply the class. They write their essays, and they would traditionally hand that to me. So I would have read it, the tutor would have read it, and they would have written it. And I'm sure after that it either ended up in a folder or crumpled up somewhere in the dorm room. So we have the same thing, and they're all different lengths. They have various questions they have to answer and various texts they have to write. But now instead of writing them to me, they put them on this website. You can see a screenshot, and I'll go link to that actual profile in just a second. But you'll see a screenshot of one of our students, and he's actually normally not one of the best students. He quite enjoys this, if I may say so. As you can see with all the comments on that sheet, the writing tutor had a lot of work with him. But how it works, right, they go to the writing tutor, and they upload that to the website, and then they put their rewrites onto the website as well. And they put up pictures, and they talk about, right, whatever they needed to talk about. All right, and let me show you what this actually looks like. So this is his profile. And as you saw on the website, this is his entire website. So there's different assignments on here, and I'll click on this one. So this was his party profile. Various things he had to do, and he had to write. He had to meet with the tutor, which they always have to, and then he had to rewrite it afterwards onto this website. They had to come up with some pictures to show, right, they have found some posters and show how these posters might be different than here in the U.S., posters that we would see, and some of the issues that are talked about, and why would this be talked about in the U.S. as well. And again, it's a 4th semester German course, right, so there's only so deep you can go, but I was pretty impressed. It was more fun for the students, and it was the exact same process. I don't know. Let's see. Oops, we'll go back. I wanted to also show you some of the things that you can do orally, right? It's always hard, I think, to track how students do. how students improve. And students themselves, they kind of get frustrated during their second and third semester of learning a foreign language. Their progression slows down, and they feel like they can't do anything anymore. We now ask them to speak freely, no longer within the confinement of the grammar structure, right? And they get very frustrated, I find. So again, this is a website, one of the portfolio pages of one of our students, and I uploaded maybe something else you can do within Foliotek. I uploaded the criteria of how I wanted them to present. So I gave them the criteria, right? You should be able to look at me while you're presenting. You should be talking, not too fast, no reading. You may have something that you're reading off of, but right, you need to be able to read, speak freely. So those are our criteria, and just like in any other class, right, they present often with small projects, 2, 3 people at a time. They presented their papers, parties, they presented in the next chapter, and I simply videotaped them, which isn't unheard of, right? We do that often. But what I did for the first time this semester is I sat with them in small groups and watched these videos with them. And I gave them the sheet of how you present well, and I asked them, what do you do? What don't you do? What are you going to do it next time? So here's a screenshot of this, and an assignment after 3 videos was actually to take that sheet, upload these videos onto their website, and then write, what did I do in the first video? What could I do better? What did I do in the second video? What could I do better? What did I do in the third video, right? To force them to have a look at this, and they all got better. The first video is horrendous. If you want to look at it, they're up there. They got much better prepared, right? And again, this is her portfolio, so we'll go to oral presentations. It'll take a minute to load. So here are the videos. We uploaded them to a private YouTube channel so that nobody else can see them, but it doesn't slow down the portfolio site. And then there are the comments. And the students did the uploading, so not me. As you can see, video 2 is upside down. And then video 3, our cameraman paused once, so it's in 2 parts. But the progression of the videos is amazing. And they're in different groups, right? For each assignment, they're shuffled, so you'll see different people in different presentations. The students are proud of themselves. The first time you videotape them, you make them sit and watch it, they cringe. The second presentation gets much better, and they get to be better public speakers. They're quite proud of it in the end. And there are different formats, too, you will see when you hear them. The first one was just a straight presentation. The second one, they had to do some visuals. And the third was like a question-answer set. I had handed out questions to the various students about their topic, and they needed to be able to answer them all. What was that?
Is this a German 4 class?
Yeah, German 4th semester. So the political parties and all that needed preparation. Yes. Well, I think, let me see. Oops. Let me go back to my PowerPoint. So that was pretty much what I wanted to show you for today, and then I wanted to leave some room for questions and show you the other sites that we have set up where you can find some more, I guess, examples. And I've uploaded some of the lesson plans, how you could integrate it. I wanted to show you that as well. And I'll show this again at the end. So the ePortfolio examples is a public website. And you see it on the left is Rollins ePortfolio examples.folio.me/home. It's kind of an awkward long link, but well,
I can share that in an email too to this group after today.
The rubric, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have underneath, and I wanted to show you that website briefly. We're hoping to get something started. I think if Foliotek is not the site for you, then there's plenty others out there. But I wanted to briefly show you why our faculty chose that one, and then maybe get the conversation started. What could this do? Do you think this might be a good idea? How might you be able to implement it into your language? The students really enjoy it. And if you wanted to get into that course, you see it on the right. There's a link, the http tiny.cc/ACS webinar, language, L-A-N-G. And I wanted to show you that one as well, briefly. So when you click on that link, you will see this, and you can self-enroll into the course. It is a free course. You don't have to pay. You do have to create a password and username, and I apologize, but you can simply log in as a student and see all of this. So you will see this when you log in. It's the Blackboard open version. And Amanda has written a little welcome. And then there's the ePortfolio site for today's webinar and some information, and there will be the digital storytelling site for next time, for the next webinar, just to kind of have one page where we can refer back to. And I kind of have put together some information on the ePortfolio technology, right? How do you choose an ePortfolio provider? There's lots and lots out there. We had at Rollins, a faculty group got together, and they were tasked to find something, and they came up with Foliotek. It's very, very, very structured. The possibilities are endless on the back-end side with rubrics and with everything to assess your program, right? It actually already has a certain set of rubrics and criteria embedded. It has, for example, the ACT4 criteria. Oh, I think I did.
Felix was asking, could you show the rubrics?
Oh, certainly. Within Foliotek?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. Certainly. Well, and Felix, here, let me show you some of the rubrics, because I did pull some of them. And I showed you some rubrics that are inputted here. So the history department did this. This is what it looks like on the back end. The evaluation feature, for example, you would upload them and you would get the files. And then you would score each unit, so each part of the rubric individually. You could click on it and then you see the file again, and you would put in your grades, and then you would go to the next one, and again you would see what you're grading. You would keep it somewhere and then can be graded by multiple graders at the same time. Is that what you were asking, Felix? And then here's kind of a preview, a sneak preview of what this might look like. This was the history one, and you have multiple of these. It's unlimited to how many of these you might have, and I can pull up an actual rubric too if you want to. I've uploaded one on the website.
Yeah, I think they'd like that.
Okay. Where did I put it? Here we go. So on the website, I have uploaded some rubric examples. This was the one that the English department used, and this was the one that we used. And I have actually uploaded the document for it here. To you, yeah, sorry. Oops. So we have, this is the English rubric that we had talked about before, right? It was simply a meets, does not meet. It's a very broad rubric. You're evaluating the whole program, right? So you want to see And it's an excellent conversation to have with your colleagues, especially in the modern languages, right? We all teach different languages. Partially, we can't look over someone else's lesson plans. We can't read them. They're in different languages, written in various characters. Often, it's very hard for us to compare and kind of communicate, but it might be good to sit down and say, hey, especially if you have another person in your field, maybe to get on the same boat with, what do we actually want our students to do at the end of semester 1? What should they be able to do at the end of semester 2? It's a constructive conversation, I think, at least, even if it leads nowhere further. But that was their rubric, and then the final rubric, right? If the student met all 4, that was good. If he does not meet all 4, then they were not counted for the English department. This was a rubric that I used for the oral assignments. So this looks much more like something you would use in class. And again, I was evaluating students, not a program, right? This was within one class, or still am using this. So there's grammar, there's vocabulary, there's style, content, presentation, and then there are my grade breakdowns, basically the same as always. Does that help?
There's a question about the limit of the storage size for files.
I have not heard a limit of storage size. There is one, which is why you want to be careful with your videos. I can get back to you on the limit. It's huge. We have not even gotten close to it. Time-wise, though, Foliotek stores things for 10 years, and after that, they have not been around longer than that. But when you sign a contract, it's for 10 years, and then after that, they say they will be happy to do it again, or continue to. But I'll be happy to take down your email address and dig in our records to tell you a size limit.
That was Andrew that asked that question, and he actually asked a related question too, which I think is good. With Foliotek or any kind of service that's provided for you for e-portfolios, is there ever a security concern, and who owns the documents and the files that are uploaded?
We own the documents. They currently live on their server. They are also happy to work with you to put them on your server. They do not have any rights to anything on there. You own it. They're just holding them for security reasons.
Gotcha.
Was there anything else? If you want to check out Foliotek, because you may be interested, right? And again, I'm not trying to push one system, but it works really well. There is a free trial version out there that you can use as an instructor, and I gave you the link to it. It's www.foliotek.com, and you can simply click on it if you do log into this class, and you can play around for yourself. Very easy to use. And then down here as well, if you forget that long, complicated link, and you wanted to go back to see some of the actual portfolios, you can click down here on that link and get there as well. What we thought might be cool is to open up questions for us right now, but also once you have a chance to kind of dig some more and read some more, to maybe open up some kind of place where we can communicate, right? We're scattered all over the southeast of the U.S., so we put together a chat room in this little course sites page where maybe we can start having a conversation on Foliotek. Positive, negative, neutral, it doesn't matter. And maybe we won't use that feature at all. One more thing maybe I could show you is I uploaded a lesson plan of mine for the parties if you're interested in seeing how did I integrate this into the class. Because just like you normally have your students do a ton of homework, right? You want to kind of gear all the homework towards a final product that you would then have your students upload. Once they upload it to Foliotek, it's uploaded. You can grade it, but there's not that much editing anymore, right? So you want to see this as the final product of that session. Oh, here we go. So, oh no, I uploaded the wrong thing. This was one of our vocabulary sheets. Let me pull you the right one.
One person is asking about, would like to know more about student evaluative comments regarding Foliotek.
Meaning?
Meaning we're saying that they like it.
Oh, well, let me maybe log in for you and show you how easy it is for students to use. I'll log into the actual site. So I'm going to our, because, and students will not like it. I've seen it all over campus. They do not like it if you make them pay $35 for something that they use twice. They will like it, however, and they get really proud of it if you continually have them upload something to it and have them work with it. And then, right, you grade it and you help them with it. But it's very intuitive to use on the front end. And every time you log in, it takes just a second because it has to log you into their huge system.
Anna, can I ask you a related question?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really important, right, is knowing what students' experience of this is like. But one question that also occurs to me is, do you find that students write differently when they are writing for e-portfolios? And in other words, when they're writing for something that could be for public consumption, or at least for the consumption of, others beyond just the one professor that they're working with?
Yeah, I think just like in presentations, right, if they have to do something in front of you, they're okay. If they are in front of their peers, it's a different story. If you have them do it somewhere outside of that, it's, again, a different story. It's the same thing, although my findings are probably a little warped, because I wanted to make sure that students did not feel like I wanted to use the newest technological gadget, just peppered throughout the course, right? We actually wanted to work with this tool. So I rewrote a lot of the stuff that we do in class so that it actually matched. They have, I pretty much made a list of questions for myself and said, hey, these things I think they need to know for the parties. I would like them to know their stance on it. I would like them to know, right? And then I used that list of questions for myself to then put it throughout that list, that lesson, throughout those few days that we spend on the lesson, so that in class and out of class, whatever they do is starting to work on this topic within groups by themselves, right? And then it all came back together within that final project, that final page for the Foliotek. So it forced me to rethink and to kind of restructure some of this. And maybe I can just show you briefly how easy it is. So this is what it looks like for us. Students would see only student tabs over here, but it pretty much looks the same. And this is the presentation tool that I'm talking about. So we could create one briefly. And it is really super easy. You get to choose your style. Let's say we're choosing pink. You will choose a type, and this is where your German would be. You could have a portfolio system already set up, right? So there would be your German portfolio, and it would have certain subheadings, the written assignments, the oral assignments, and then community engagement. And then you would name it. We would say German. So we have created our portfolio, and now these are kind of cool. If we want to add pictures, we simply click on pictures, we click and we drag, and we can upload a picture. That was it. We can upload slideshows, grids, right? It looks professional in the end. Videos, whatever it is. If we want to upload files, it is the same thing. We either add new files or we have already uploaded files. We click and we drag. And there we go. We can insert the file. We can insert a link to the file. It's down here, the link. And we're done with it. We want to add some more pages, right? We currently have 3 different levels, tabs. We add new tabs. we can link them. It's really intuitive to use, and we change our design ideas. And here we go. We've changed our design ideas again. Students enjoy it. It's easy to use. It looks professional in the end. I think their writing has gotten better. It's hard to say if it's because my lessons are more goal-oriented or because they like it. But I have found that especially students that really struggle with just straight papers, they really do excellent. Some of them are visual, right, and adding images and playing with all that. They enjoy it. Are there any other questions?
So, Anna, there's a really good question out there now, and Nancy is typing an answer to it even now, but maybe you could comment on it too. Dick was wondering, I think, whether Rollins has used, and I think he meant in the modern language department, has used e-portfolios not just for evaluating individual classes, but for evaluating students throughout the major or minor, and also for the language itself on the kind of even larger level. Now, I know that the, if I'm not mistaken, the history department at Rollins has done something like that, but could you tell us a little bit about, how that might work and whether anyone's tried it and how it worked out?
Well, the Spanish department is working on it. They want to do it for their capstone class in spring. They want to do an evaluation. And so generally, right, you ask students to bring old stuff and to upload it. And I could show you the history example, maybe. In fact, let me show you the example of the history department live. So you can see what they did. Because they did, they evaluated the, take me home. I apologize. Let's go back. They evaluated the entire, well, it was a capstone class, so it was at the end of it, and I am stuck. Here we go. No? All right.
No problem. While Anna is looking for that, let me address one other question that I saw much earlier in the feed that's more of an ACS-related question. Someone had asked about the Blended Learning Grants Program and whether or not we were still taking pre-proposals, just to, in case you didn't see the real Christiane's answer. I'm just pretending to be her right now, logged in with her identity. The answer to that is, at the moment, we're actually not. Our deadline was back in early September for pre-proposals, and now we have many folks working on submitting full proposals in early November. So the next round of blended learning funding and the next round of faculty advancement funding will be coming next September. So I encourage you, in the interim, please contact me or have a look at the guidelines page that I linked you to, and start kind of dreaming about that. There is some possibility, it has happened before, that we are able to run a second round of blended learning pre-proposals, but that really depends on how many of our folks come back with full proposals and what the final funding situation. So next time, for sure, will be in the fall with perhaps a limited second round in this coming spring, and of course, we'll let you know about that.
And I finally found the page. So this was one of the students of the history department, and they asked their students to put together their final capstone class. And this is exactly what the Spanish department is wanting to do right now, and it has kind of started a nice conversation within them. What is important? What do we need our students to do? If we implement this over 4 years, next semester will be just a capstone, but they're hoping to roll it out. Which assignments throughout their 4 years are important enough so that we have them submitted by their students to this folder, right? And that would be the back end. You can simply submit a file so that in the end, after 4 years, they can draw from all these files and they can build a portfolio out of them, right? So these are her various assignments that she has done throughout her time at Rollins, and she has put them together into a final portfolio. Her essays, and they had different points that they had to meet. So you can do it in multiple ways, and I've seen both on campus. You can either give, the education department gives specific goals, and you have to write to this one specific goal, and then you have to have a page for this other specific objective, and another page where you talk about a different topic, right? Or the history department gave us, the students, a list of things they wanted to see in these, just like giving them a rubric for an essay, right? A list of things that they wanted them to touch upon, and then they left it pretty open for them how they would want to do this and what essays they would want to write. So she embedded her old papers right into here. Oops, and I'm in her edit mode. So if this were not her edit mode, I'm pretending to be her, you can simply see them in here. So that you can actually have your students, right, they have their old papers, they reflect back on these old papers instead of saying flip 5 pages forward or backwards in your portfolio that I've handed you that it's 30 pages wide and it's currently in your colleague's office and you have to wait to get it returned. They can simply refer to something and actually embed that actual document, be that a video, be that a paper, be that a whatever. And they did this, well, for everything. You can upload, I think, there's even some PowerPoints, some presentations, if I'm not, oral presentations. So you can upload your PowerPoints that you have given at some point during your schooling, right? So the big grand idea of the portfolio is that over the course of your studies you have evolved and you want to track how you have evolved. And with the sharing options for this portfolio, you can then make it public or you can share it privately. That means you're given the opportunity to get a link to this, and then you can just send that to whomever. And the person that has that link can click on it and see it. So wouldn't this be a great way to, I don't know, apply for a study abroad program that needs a certain amount of language, or to apply for jobs, or to, right, because we have to show what we learned as liberal arts students to kind of write a narrative of what you have done over 4 years.
Lots and lots of applications for career outside of college, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Are there any more questions? No?
Again, if you have any questions, just punch them into the chat file there. I guess I'll ask one question on while others are thinking if they have any last questions. Actually, I guess it's 2 questions. First question is a question that you often hear when you are talking about using a new technology in the classroom, which is, what is the front-end investment of time? What is the learning curve like? I think you've already made the point in a couple of different ways that Foliotek felt pretty easy to learn, pretty intuitive, and that's good. But in terms of setting this up for use in your class, what kind of time investment? And that question is a tricky one because the answer is often yes, it does take extra time to get set up. But so the related question then is, what are the payoffs for that investment
with
time?
Foliotek, a lot of the background, the setup is done by Foliotek themselves. They're very responsive. They will set up the rubrics as complicated or as easy as you want them to. The real work for the faculty is to sit down with their colleagues and hammer out those points. What do we want to evaluate and how important is it? And a very productive conversation, right? And then you send that off to Foliotek and they say, okay, give us 2-3 days, and they set all that up for you. And then it's just like setting up an assignment. You have that rubric in there, and I'd be happy to show that to you, and so would the Foliotek people. Very responsive. They do sessions with you one-on-one. They walk you through things. They're very much invested in all of this, and they're happy to communicate constantly. If there's any issues, they go right in and they have a look at it. Otherwise, folks here at Rollins, they have us, instructional technologists, to work with, but schools that don't would have that. It does take a little bit of getting used to, but it's not difficult, pretty intuitive. So I don't know, I think once you've rewritten your lesson, you've gone through the first set of it, the setup actually is not that big a deal. It's more getting used to the program. I would say maybe an hour playing around with it, with the Foliotek walking you through. And then, right, every time you forget something, you call them or email them and set up another meeting. They are happy to do it again and again and again. So not too much investment. It does take a little bit of getting used to, but it's not hard.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. And I agree with Erin's post too. Lots of materials and examples of the overall structure, and this has really been a really, really nice introduction to this technology. Does anybody else have any questions out there? I'll say while we're winding up here, I will just remind everybody to please come back and join us again on November the 19th when we're going to be talking with Felix Cronenberg about digital storytelling and the language instruction classroom. Should be a really interesting talk. All of the links and resources that Anna has culled for us here and carefully arranged for us here, I will make available to you via the listserv. And I do encourage you to jump in, give it a try, study the examples that Anna has set up for us, and keep the conversation going in the discussion board. Really exciting, and I think people are going to have a lot to say about it. Would love to take a moment, too, just to thank Anna for all her hard work. People are already doing that in the chat box, but this has been really instructive and really, really helpful. Well, all right. Well, again, everybody, thank you. Oh, wait. Everybody is saying thanks, and let's see. I see one other comment. I think most of the people are just saying thank you. It really has been a great presentation.
And if you have any questions at all, I'd be happy to talk to you.
One more time, the email about the listserv, about the chat.
The email about the chat for
the listserv.
Oh, the listserv. I think that's
yes,
a question for Amanda.
That's for me. That's right. And I would be happy to do that. Sure. I think. Yeah, actually, I'll just write your name down, Dick, and I'll get you on the listserv. That's probably the easiest way to do it. Very good. But again, if you have any questions about this series overall, please feel free to email me, heygood@colleges.org. And again, thank you so much, everybody, and I guess we'll say goodbye now.
Bye.